Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to continue with the variables and the most popular data types. Like we have seen double, float, and integer and long. We're going to see strings and some other types as well. So, for example, we have seen what happens when we divide double by double or integer by integer. Let's create a double called pi, and this will be equal to 3.14, of course. And let's create an integer, for example, for our radius, and calculate a circumference of a circle. Okay, so for example, I have my pi 314, I have my radius as 5. So do you know the equation of circumference? It's 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by radius, right? So what happens when we multiply an integer with a double? Now we're gonna find out about that, aren't we? Let's call system out println one more time and try to multiply 2 by pi by r. And I suggest you pause the video and try to do it on your own with this kind of little exercises, okay? So let me do it and let me run it, and you will see it's 31.4. So don't worry about this 0.0002 things. Like if it's a very small decimal, it's not your fault. It's just how actually Android handles, how Java handles the decimals. So it's not very important. It won't mess with your calculations in real life examples. But as you can see, we got a double out of this. So we got 31.4 as we expect. So if we just multiply a double by an integer, as we would expect, it gives out the result as a double, and it's actually better for us because we can see the decimals at this point. So if you need decimals, make sure you're working with doubles, at least it in a single parameter of an equation like this, so that you can get specific results out of that. So let me move on to some other examples from here. I believe this is sufficient for us right now, at least about numbers, because we have so many data types and we're going to do a lot of examples with numbers later on as well. So let me talk about strings. We have briefly talked about that before, right? We have talked about that. This is a text. So let me do an example. Just write string with an uppercase S and give some name afterwards. Like this is an object name like name or my string or my name or anything you want. Okay, let's go with name for example, and open this quotation marks, and between the quotation marks write your text. So you can do it with your own name. I'm gonna do it with James Hetfield. So I'm going to call this name. I'm going to create another string which is surname, which is Hetfield. Okay, and don't forget with semicolons at the end. And now I'm going to print name, and now I'm going to print surname. Just beware that I'm not putting any double quotation marks in the system.out.println over here. I'm just writing surname or name because I can refer to that variable right now. So this is good. So if I run this, of course it will print out James Hetfield's one by one over here. So now I have these variables. I can do whatever I want to do with them. For example, I can create a new string out of those. Like I can just create a full name and some name and surname together like this. So what happens when I add one string to another? So let me try to print line that as well so that we can see the result in the logs. Here you go. As you can see, it added them side by side so we can see the name and surname together like this. So of course you're thinking about how to put a space between name and surname right now. It's very easy. You can do like this. So name plus a space over here and plus surname. So if I run this, then I will see James space Hatfield. Now I can use those variables in wherever I want at this point on, right? So this is strings. This is very basic. This is just a text. So before we have learned about numbers, they were integers and floats and doubles and longs. Now we have learned about strings. Now we want to move on to booleans. So this is a type as well. So what kind of a data type is this? So boolean is a true or is a false. So they have only two values actually. It's either true or false. So how do we use them? So let's create a boolean, and it's created like this: boolean with small b, and then you can give it a name. For example, in a real life example would be a game, like for tracking if character is alive. So if it's true, then my character is alive, and if it's false, then my character is dead. So maybe I can keep track whether my character is alive or not with a variable. I can change it anytime I want, like this. Let's print those out and let's see if we can see the false over here. Here you go. As you can see, it's the most basic data type of all, so it's either true or false. There isn't many things to talk about it right now, but later on we're going to see a lot of usages of booleans as well. So once I create a string or once I create a variable, I can change it, right? For example, I have changed name to be Lars, and now if I print name, I will see Lars, as you can see. But I cannot do that. I cannot change name to be 40 like this, because I have defined name as a string, not an integer. As you can see, it gives me an error. I'm expecting a string and you're giving me an integer, it says. So whatever you have specified first, you have to do that later on as well. So let me comment this out and go up. And over here, for example, we have double Z. Now, can I do that? Can I say this is a 4? Yep, I can do that actually. It doesn't mean it's necessarily an integer right now, because it's perceived as a double. But if I do that, as you can see, right now it's giving me an error. It's not exactly a double, it's a string, it says. Whenever you do 4, it just thinks it as 4.0, okay? So it's okay, but turning it into a string, it's not okay. So that's it for the most basic ones. These are the data types that you're going to need when you try to learn the other concepts of Java in the following lectures. So make sure you follow along with the next lectures in order to comprehend all of those things in a better way.